Facebook in your backyard?
This one was.
Is that you? It was you and your husband.
So I couldn't even bypass.
How are you?
Today.
Good.
Oh, but it resurfaced.
No, I told them to stay an hour. You know, as long as they stay an hour, we're fine with it.
Basically,
Yeah,
so
you don't have to stay till the
tank
end.
is lower than the village's tank. You go rooftop to rooftop.
You gotta have trust in the kids.
No, because they all cut out and it was listening out.
Nah.
Yeah. But we trust them.
Village's tank.
Okay, ready?
Oh, McGinn's late.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, now in this corner. Councilman McGinn, paging Councilman McGinn, please approach the dais.
Mike got a fresh haircut, too.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, fresh haircut. Looks good. Looks good.
Oh,
you got all of it. Good to see you.
How are you?
Look at this. Very good.
Yeah.
See Mr. Nugent's in the parking lot. So
All right. Well, I'm gonna start. Okay. I'd like to welcome everybody to the May 7th Monroe Town Board meeting. Please note that there are exits behind you and up front here to our left, your right. And I would like to begin the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
for all.
You missed that.
Listen, Mike. No, it's an internal thing. You know what it's like. Let him get a chuckle out of it because he's late. You know? Okay.
I didn't see it.
Ouch.
Get the t-shirts, man.
I just wanted to.
So just so you know, the joke is that he sits on the town Stony Point board. They sit him behind him. Yeah, that's why I put the thing there. Okay, first item on the agenda is to set a public hearing for proposed local law number 7 of 2018, which pertains to the ZBA. So we need a motion to set that public hearing for May 21st at 7:30.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Got that, Val?
Rick and Sal?
Rick and Sal? Any other discussion on it? Okay, call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved. I have one announcement before we get into our community recognition. The Arrow Park is celebrating their 70th anniversary on Memorial Day weekend, the 26th and 27th of May. We will have this posted on our website, but they have a calendar of events on, that begin on Saturday, May 26th, and go actually through Sunday, May 27th, where at 4 o'clock they'll conclude their event with American folk music concert with the artist to be announced. So you could check our website as this will be posted on it. I spoke to their president today, and she was looking forward to hopefully have the community attend some of the events. Okay. Next up, the town of Monroe and the town board wanted to recognize two volunteer firemen for their duty and service to our community. I had the pleasure of attending the annual Firemen's Dinner on the 28th of April, where they were both honored, and it was a pleasure to meet such humble men, although one of them I have met. He's actually an employee of ours. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to turn it over to Highway Superintendent John Sherney, who is actually the District Fire Chief, for the words prior to the presentation.
Okay, thank you. I had a couple different things I was going to bring up, and I ended up writing down some things for the actual district dinner. I've been doing this since I was 15 years old, between the ambulance corps and the fire department, and you just wouldn't believe the amount of calls that we run in the town of Monroe between ambulance and fire. It's very impressive, and as taxpayers and citizens, you should be very grateful for the services these men provide, and women. And you should feel very safe in your homes because of it. So anyway, I wrote down something that was basically for the firemen's dinner, which we were surrounded by probably, half of the room or better was firefighters. So, and I wanted to make sure when I wrote this down that it was...
Can I ask everyone to please be quiet? This is an honor that two of our community members deserve all of our attention and our respect. Thank you.
And basically, I wanted to write it down for the non-firemen to understand what we do as a whole, and for the firemen that were in the room could actually understand everything I say, because we have kind of our own slang when it comes to certain things. So bear with me. I should have done a little bit better in English class when I was in school, but I'll do my best and I'll get you out of here quickly. So we as firefighters always perform some sort of heroic act, but never seem to use the word hero too often. That word to me has always went hand in hand with the ultimate sacrifice, whether it was police, fire, military, and sometimes even civilians. And in today's world, it seems to get used a little more than it should. A professional athlete kneeling down during our national anthem at a football game is not a hero or doing something heroic, in my opinion. But for us firefighters, when that bell rings, there are always some heroics performed by firefighters. Sometimes it's just getting in the rig with certain drivers, but as a team, we always go to the extreme. It could be the hand line guys, possibly the outside vent guys, and even the driver can have a bad night with a line burst can take them out, and that can happen. As firefighters, we realize that. Our wives and families understand that. We risk our lives for our neighbors, and unlike a lot of career guys that can be just as heroic, and sometimes are, we are a little different because we do it for nothing. And I can tell you, I have seen heroics firsthand as a firefighter, as a lieutenant, as a captain, and now as a chief. I have seen it when the dive team is out to recover someone's loved one that has drowned in a lake, when a firefighter gets in the same hole in the ice for someone's beloved pet. And then there's that one fire we get, and in Monroe we get quite a few of them, trust me. Heavy smokes pushing out the windows, out the roof. Command pulls up, takes control. First rig on the scene stretches a hand line. Our outside vent team grabs hooks, ladders. Mutual aid team is on their way. Fast team, fighter assist team, basically is what that is if a fireman goes down. Tankers that carry a lot of water for us. And then, of course, your engines and trucks. All those teams are just as important. But then two firefighters come across a lady in the kitchen, the living room area. They move themselves on the other end of the hand line that was already putting water on the fire to do a primary search is what we call it. And basically, she was right there, they told me. They grabbed her, and out they went. Met on the bottom by other firefighters, and then other firefighters jumped into action, including the chief from the mutual aid department that just showed up. Off-duty nurse was out by the command post. They all worked on saving her life. EMS grabbed her up and worked on her. A helicopter crew grabbed her, flew her to the hospital, then to the trauma team, to the burn unit. But two guys started the life-saving process, and I will recognize them here tonight. Actually, the town board will. So that would be Chris Cox and Troy Shedden.
You guys want to go out front and I'll read the flag? You want to step out by the podium?
Sure.
Okay, I'll have the town board members award the plaque, but I will read it prior to. Take that one. The first plaque says, "The town of Monroe proudly acknowledges firefighter Chris Cox for your heroic actions and bravery exhibited on February 19th, 2017, presented this day, May 7th, 2018, by the Monroe Town Board." Chris? Next.
Put them on YouTube.
The town of Monroe proudly acknowledges firefighter Troy Shedden for your heroic actions and bravery exhibited on February 19, 2017, presented this day, May 7, 2018, by the Monroe Town Board. John, why don't you get in a photo with him, since you're the chief.
It's not a chief.
Thank you, gentlemen.
I taught them boys everything they know, and they still don't know nothing.
Thank you, John. Thank you, boys. Thank you, all the members from the fire department who were able to come here tonight. We appreciate you being here. Okay. Next up, the approval of the April 16, 2018 Town Board minutes. We need a motion,
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
seconded by Councilwoman Bingham. Any other discussion, changes? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved. We need a motion for the April 25th, 2018 Town Board Special Meeting Minutes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Scangarello. Any discussion, changes, adjustments? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved. Going off the agenda here a little bit, our legislator Peter Toohey is here to give a monthly, quarterly, whatever type of report. So, would you please step forward? Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me here. Appreciate the board's time.
Move the mic a little closer. Move the mic a little closer to you. Up. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yep. All right, just I just had my 5th session, and this was the packet from our meeting, and it was a very interesting session. We, out of the 21 legislators, Republicans, Democrats, and Independent, we came together in a bipartisan fashion, and all 34 agenda items were passed 21-0. So I just
Wow,
wanted
that's great.
to say that, wow, working together was
great.
very, very good. Hope we keep it up. Hope we can keep it up. But just some of the highlights from the last couple months regarding the CPV plant up towards Middletown and way under. The legislature did a resolution requesting the state legislature to create a law stating that a criminal conviction is once determined, as in the case of CPV and the recent conviction of one of the New York State's aides. We made a resolution and sent a letter requesting that there would be a law that would be, that would give a presumption of invalidity. What that would do is that if there was a review, that would make a review and a revocation of any operating permits in question. Also, the legislature, we foiled all information from the state with regard to air quality testing. So we're still waiting for that back. As soon as we get back, I can let everybody know on that. The next kind of big item that was on there, as we all know, that Parkland down in Florida with the terrible shooting down there, it's never gone from the forefront, but now it's just everybody seems to be taking it much more seriously. We had a resolution that was sent calling up to the governor and the state legislator for state funding of a police officer for every elementary and secondary school in New York State. The Orange County Police Advisory Board met and for school safety, and they came out with some recommendations. First, they recommended that every school have a police officer assigned from the agency of their choice by the school district. We protect everything and in every place that we value. Schools shouldn't be no different. If schools aren't already doing so, all school districts are encouraged to form a school safety group consisting of school officials, first responders, and other stakeholders. Some schools are already doing that. Monroe Woodbury has their CARE, Community Awareness and Emergency Response. Also, Newburgh has a group called Alert. This group would meet several times a year. We have athletic directors, transportation directors, school district superintendents that meet. They have an association. They meet and they discuss. And what we would do is that these groups could meet to discuss peer-to-peer experiences and best practices. The Orange County Department of Emergency Services coordinated a meeting last month with 11 school districts attending to discuss this association. I think there's 17 school districts. So this outreach is ongoing. They're trying to get all the school districts involved. There's also a system called Mutual Link. It's the New York State recommended camera and communication access solution that enables schools' cameras to be linked to the first responders. It only allows camera and communication access when a school district invites in pre-identified agencies with the push of a panic button. So it's not going to be constantly on. People aren't constantly watching the ongoing events at the school. But in the case of emergency, a panic button's hit. And this system will go over the existing cameras in all the schools. You can bring it up onto the screens up at the Emergency Services Center. You hear different things of when first responders, some say they don't go in, they secure the perimeter and all, waiting for a command center to be set up. This information would be available on apps. So law enforcement, when they're going there, they can get right on it, and they could know the cameras, try to isolate any kind of incidents that are going on there. Orange County is licensed, and we'll be bringing in a Mutual Link reps to demonstrate for our school districts. Valley View is in very good financial shape. They actually have, after all the word that we heard in the past about being in financial trouble, right now it couldn't be any further from it. They've got about a $50 million fund balance. So now that they have some renovations that are needed, there's some things like the boiler, hot water systems, piping, asbestos. Rather than bonding it out, we're going to use their fund balance. So there's no costs associated with it. So we're going to use some of that, and there's still going to be plenty left. Also, they're expanding the operations to now offer certified home health care services. And what that does is take the patient from possibly being in there in the hospital to going to the therapy. And then when they go home, they would always go get their own home health services. So it's a natural progression, and they're very excited about it because the care up there, people are very happy with the care they get, And this way, it would extend that service right to their homes from Valley View. Community Development, I was appointed to be on this committee last month, at the end of March, rather. It's a federal HUD program helping towns and villages funds projects locally. Coming up on site visits for later this month on the 17th and 24th. Approximately 27 applications have been filed, of which the town of Monroe and the village of Monroe are included. And also, we have a direct link to the county legislature's website. So I'd like to give that to you, and if you want to add it on to your onto the town's website, anybody can go and check out our agendas, our minutes for the legislature, and I think the best thing to do is all stay well informed and communicate and just keep moving forward. And that website is www.orangecountygov.com/leg, L-E-G. And that's it. But I appreciate the time, and I look forward to giving updates.
All right, thank you. Anyone have any questions? Val, you got that website?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Tui, thank you
Good
very
job.
much for being here. Okay. Next item on old business. Our assessor, April, is here. And I know you work long hours and you're there on Saturdays, so I'm not going to make you wait. I would like for you to come up and address the board as you wish tonight.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Here for two agenda items, is this on?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay. The first is the hiring of the assistant assessor position. I don't know if that should be done in an executive session or out here.
Yeah, we'll talk about an
An executive session. And the other is,
You did send us a letter regarding the, one of the candidates?
correct,
Okay.
correct. I sent a memo. I'm hoping that everybody got it. I sent it on Friday. So we can talk about that particular candidate in executive. And I also have on the agenda to replace the part-time data collector in my office. We had a recent resignation, so we have that one position vacant. And I'm asking for $18.95 an hour for that position. That's not at the level that my current data collectors are at. You know, that would be like an entry level. That would be 35 hours every 2 weeks. What is it, 17 and a half, Tony?
17 and a half per
17
week.
and a half per week, the hours. We're down to one part-time data collector currently, yeah. And I think we're up to like 12,700 parcels with Curious Joel as is right now.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, anybody have any questions?
Not at this time.
We'll go into executive and discuss it. Okay, I mean, did you want to come into executive session with us
Oh, yes,
to make
please.
your case? Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, that's fine.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, item 5.2 under old business, Smith Farm Phase 2 work authorization. I'll turn this over to our counsel, Mr. Brian Nugent.
Thank you, Supervisor. This is an agreement with the town's engineer for the second phase of Smith Farm to review that project going forward. We had reviewed the agreement, made some changes, and the version you have is now the contract with changes.
Thank you.
So it would require a resolution authorizing you to execute the agreement with McGoey, Hauser, and Edsel.
I know we had discussions today, and you had made some cosmetic changes, I guess, to the agreement, but you were okay with the rest of the agreement?
Yeah, there was a little more than cosmetic, but yes, we made changes. Some of them involved, issues that we had with damages, provisions that were in there, and McGoey Hauser agreed to those changes, so that's the version you have before you.
Okay. So we would need a motion to authorize the agreement for Smith Farm Phase 2 work. I will make that motion to authorize the supervisor to sign the Smith Farm Phase 2 work
I'll
agreement.
second it.
For discussion,
Second for discussion.
discussion.
Yeah.
question,
Go ahead.
how's it gonna be paid? Is it escrow, post-planning?
Well, based on the conversation I had previously. Let me gather my thoughts here. And correct me if I'm wrong here, council, but we would probably have to bill them, and I could be wrong. Maybe I'll let you answer it.
I didn't hear Ms. Councilman Bingham's
She asked
question.
regarding the post-planning process here.
Is there an escrow?
Is there an
or-
escrow?
Or how's this bill going to be paid? Eventually, Magui Hauser Etzel is going to be looking for payment.
Yeah, I think the very issue the town was looking at was developing a post-planning process. You don't have one as it stands now. So whatever securities you have or whatever the town code provides for now, but I don't know that you have a post-planning bond or deposit. It would be whatever is in place now, and I'm not sure what the money situation is or what you have, with respect to Smith Farm that's on account. But that process that was proposed is not part of the town code yet.
So the way it was done in the past was the developer would put some money into post-planning escrow, and when it dipped below a certain amount, we would ask them for more money.
Yeah,
So that's still the process we're going to be using with Smith Farm.
Yeah, except I cannot say what's been deposited or not. I do not know what's on the town's accounts right now with respect to any monies that were posted.
I just want to be sure we have some money before we start letting him go out and do the inspections.
So the town board can, approve the execution of the document subject to a review of funds that are on deposit to ensure that the money will be there to pay for the inspection services.
Okay.
Can we also obtain a commitment from the builder?
A commitment to what?
For a dollar amount?
Well, at least for a basic dollar amount before going forward? Or at least to a pledge on the builder's part that they will in fact continuously, will update the deposit if need be?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm suggesting is you pass the resolution subject to the funds being in place to pay for any work that's being done on behalf of the town. Whatever that amount is, if it's not paid for, it doesn't get done.
Right, that's all.
So I will amend my resolution and also add to it that the developer is required to maintain an escrow of $20,000
Minimum.
minimum.
Yeah, you're free to do that. I couldn't speak to the numbers. So you'd have to discuss that with the engineer.
Okay.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
And I
And I'll
guess,
second that amended motion.
okay. Any other discussion?
No, I think that's it.
Mary's totally right here, because my fear, going back, there was a development, I believe it was in the mid 2000s, where the town actually ended up having to fund $60,000 in post-planning that was never recouped. So I don't want to see a dime come out
And that's my concern.
Neither
as
do
well.
I.
out of our coffers.
Hey, Mr. Nugent, can the supervisor, if this resolution passes, can without there being a town law that specifically mandates post-planning escrow, can we in fact, request that money from the developer?
Well, from what
I'm trying to
council,
make sure we're on good legal
from
footing.
Councilwoman Bingham's statement, apparently that's what's been done, as far as posting. And typically, I'm not going to say you can't do it. There was a proposal to have a specific post-planning process, but you do have bonds and other security in the town code for seeing through these projects. So you'd have to look at the specific language to see whether, it already justifies this or it doesn't. And I also don't know. You could have $20,000 on account. I don't know the numbers of what the town has now on this project. So, but if you want to use 20,000 as a number, and if it's slightly below that, they would have to post the additional amount.
I mean, if my memory serves me correct, there was a letter of credit is what they posted. It wasn't an actual dollar amount. there was a letter of credit for, I think it was
That was for the-
$720,000.
That was for, I guess,
Public
improvements.
improvements? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right,
or
so separate
restoration
from,
possibly,
separate
too.
from this, okay.
Yeah, these are basically, you do have a provision in the code for inspection fees. This would seem to fall into that, so, you know, there should be justification to request that money.
Right.
I just don't know about that figure. I can't speak to that.
Okay.
Mr. Supervisor, maybe you can talk to the town engineer tomorrow and find out what a reasonable number would be.
Well, his reasonable number is based on the present process we're trying to put in place, post-planning process, is 5% of the total improvements.
Is that $20,000?
I'm gonna say we're probably under with $20,000.
Yeah.
Considerably. I'm gonna say that that number is gonna be somewhere probably closer to, I would say 75 to 100,000.
All right, so do you want to amend it to be
I'm
five, you know, in keeping with the recommendation of the
Yeah,
of
I'm
the town
fine.
engineer?
I'm fine with that.
All right.
Why don't we just leave it at that, you know?
Instead of giving a definitive number.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
All right,
So
you
I'm
wanna-
gonna amend the motion to say, I'll
Amend the
withdraw
amended
my
motion?
previous motion,
Okay,
and I'm gonna make a new motion that states, the Smith Farm Phase 2 work agreement will be signed with the caveat that the developer provides a post-planning deposit of 5% of the total improvements as determined by our engineer, McGooey, Hauser, and Etzel.
I'll second that motion.
Any other discussion? Okay, call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Again, aye.
Okay, so moved. Monroe Theater ticket and concession stand pricing. Councilman Scancarello, you want to just elaborate a little on that?
All right, so real quick, we are not at this time going to change any of the theater prices. But what I am going to do is I'm going to revamp that concession stand and offer a lot of new improvements to that area, and I'm going to bring in some art councils to help bring in some revenue as well.
Okay. Okay, any other questions? Nope. All right, 5.3, Community Day Food Truck and Music Festival. Councilman Scancarello.
All right, so this is going to be a day for all our first responders, June 16th from 2 to 8 p.m. at Monbassia Park. It's going to be a community day. I believe is this the first of its kind for us? Or?
For us, yeah.
All right, so this is going to be the first of its kind. We're going to try to do this twice a year. We have about a dozen food trucks, a lot more information we're working on currently that's not complete, but we're getting there. But the date is set, and we are going to honor all of our first responders, Monroe first responders that day. It should be an excellent day, and we really look forward to it.
Rain or shine?
Rain or shine, you said.
Rain or shine.
All right. And we have
One of the
music.
questions,
Go ahead.
go ahead, Mr. Supervisor.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Councilman McGinn.
One of the questions I get is there admission or a fee to get in, and that's not the case, right? 'Cause
No,
some people
no,
think that
no.
it's like, no, it's
No, there's
just-
no
it's
admission, open to the public,
Right.
no admission to get in.
Right, it's just whatever-
Obviously, the food trucks are going to cost money. There'll be live music all day.
Right, so there's no charge
No
for
charge.
whatever you want to spend for
Correct.
whatever's there.
Right.
There's a $50 fee for councilmen whose last names end in an M.
That,
Beginning
that
with
would
M.
be.
Yeah, all right. I'll try to spend that
I do
much
have a
there.
copy
I'm
of the
sure I'll
flyer,
come
though.
close.
George. I'll give it to you.
So the to benefit the first responders, so that money's going to come from whatever proceeds are either donated
Correct,
or
correct.
from the food truck fees and stuff like
Correct.
that. Right. Okay.
That's the goal.
Yeah,
That's the
there's
goal.
a couple questions I've heard, so just wanted to kind of get that out there.
How many trucks are you gonna have there so far?
We probably have close to a dozen right now.
And they're gonna cover what kind of food?
Oh, we got it all.
None
You
particular.
name it.
Really?
Yeah.
Impressive.
Empanadas.
We got empanadas. We got lobster rolls,
We got tacos.
sausage. We got tacos.
You gotta have
So-
bananas, you gotta have tacos.
We got it all.
Pizza.
All right.
We got some good live music, some local bands.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great day.
Awesome.
lot of help and support from Anne Marie Morris as well. She helped me a lot with this.
All right.
I wanted to say one thing, I lost my train of thought there.
And the parking's all been worked out. Anne Marie's been in contact with whoever she needs to make sure that
Yes.
traffic and parking.
She
is
will-
all-
she will-
Volunteers.
She will hopefully have that parking lot striped by then.
Yes, that was something she
And
was working on.
she's going to be working with Dial-A-Bus to have a shuttle go back and forth from the senior center / highway. Highway has offered, I guess, to help out a little bit with the traffic, as has the police department, the
Troopers?
fire department.
Fire department.
Fire district. And with respect to the first responders, what we're seriously considering doing, and I would say seriously only because it's probably 95%, is to offer the first responders, based off of their district's member list, coupons to use at the food trucks, which will be in portion the town's cost, and a portion will be the food vendor's cost. So.
You were still working that out.
Yeah,
Details.
the details, have yet to be finalized, but that's the direction we would like to go in. Anything else?
That's it.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I'm hungry.
We have an application before us under new business for a fishing derby to be held up at Berry Road. I am assuming, because it wasn't detailed in here, that it will be at the Faber Farm. And it's a Cub Scout Pack 488, wants to hold this on the 19th of May from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's a catch and release, and there will be no campfire, but the facility they would like the facility open at 8 o'clock. They have, I believe they have already provided a $50 fee for the day and a deposit, which I believe was $500, yeah. So we need a motion to approve that.
I'll make a motion to approve the Cub Scout Pack 488 Fishing Derby.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Okay, call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Again, aye.
Okay, so moved. Okay, we received a request from the Monroe-Woodbury All-Night Graduation Committee to house the decorations for that night and their theme at the theater. We did this last year. I believe they have already been in contact with you. George, no? Okay. They were supposed to reach out to you last week, but George will control the ingress and egress for them when they're allowed to enter and bring in the decorations, props, etc. So I would like approval for this. The only thing I am going to ask is for a deposit from the committee, because last year we had a little bit of an issue with, they had some sort of sticky material that was on the floor, and when they peeled it up, they took the first surface of the paint off on the floor, on the 4th floor. And at that point, I guess we were trying to be good neighbors to accommodate their needs, and it's nothing major, but I still think we should take a deposit and yeah, they're going to provide us with an insurance certificate, which they did last year. Yep. So I would make the recommendation that we ask for a $500 deposit,
Refundable.
refundable, obviously, as long as there's no damage. So I will make that motion that we allow the Monroe-Woodbury 2018 class all-night graduation party committee to use the 4th floor for storage of the all-night graduation party props and decorations. with the fact that they're going to give us an insurance certificate and a $500 deposit,
Refundable deposit.
refundable deposit.
And I'll second.
Any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay. So moved. Okay, next up is the home rule for acceleration of palm tree, which essentially will allow the formation of palm tree to be placed on the ballot for the election this November. I have had discussions with both members of United Monroe, along with Assemblyman Skoufis, has Councilman McGinn. We have also had discussions with Gedalia Sagadan from KJ regarding this. I just received tonight, thanks to Mike Egan's efforts, a copy of the bill. It was pretty brief. I would like to forward it to our attorney prior to any action. I think we're all most likely in favor of this and getting this done. And there is a time period. And correct me if I'm wrong here, Legislator Toohey. I spoke with Michael Amo early today, and he understood our feelings about reviewing the bill and felt that we had till the end of June, which I don't want to wait till the end of June. I think this is in the best interest of the town of Monroe and the village of KJ. So.
Yeah, I think you definitely want to look the bill over, but I'll find out about the date.
Yeah, I think it was the end of June in order that they were able to file their petitions for town board members.
Yeah. I mean, I think we also want to make sure we get some public input on this before it's passed.
Absolutely.
Also,
Yes.
you know.
Absolutely. Any other comments?
We're going to table it then and just hold it over to
Yeah.
our next meeting.
Yeah.
Then we'll have to, are we going to have a special meeting for public comment?
Well, people could comment tonight on it, and we could have the public comment on the 21st as well.
Okay, fine.
Okay. Okay, this is brought up for discussion first, and I think I'll have Highway Superintendent Sherney, if you wouldn't mind explaining the LoSAP program, because your terminology is probably going to be 100% better than mine. But essentially what it is, it's a length of service program for all firefighters who volunteer in our district. And currently, Lakeside is the only one that still has the program operating under the guidance of the town and the town board. And there's a fee associated for operating that per year, and it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,500 to $2,000 that it costs the town. And I'll let you explain what is
I think
happening.
you pretty much hit it right there on the head, Tony,
Well-
and I gotta, basically, it's kind of like a retirement system for firefighters, and the town of Monroe, the village of Monroe, and I believe the village of Harriman, when we was not a fire district, had their own plans. And now that we are a fire district, the fire district actually has its own plan. The village of Harriman and the village of Monroe basically shut their plan down, and the district took that plan over. And basically, Lakeside, which is up on the hill, has not done that yet, which is owned by the town.
Right.
So I don't want to talk out of turn. I'm not sure if Lakeside ever requested them to close this out yet or not, but
We did have a meeting about a year and a half ago, myself, Mr. Martin, and Lenny Lennick
Okay.
from the district there. And part of the reasoning they were hesitant was that some of the senior members, some of the seniors who were members, and some of the other gentlemen who were retired but on pensions felt that they would have a major tax impact in that particular year because of the program disbanding. while I do have sympathy for them, I also don't want to put a burden on the taxpayers for us managing the system when we're duplicating a system that already exists and could be run by the district.
I mean, I can't speak for Lakeside. Lakeside's their own fire company, a part of the Monroe Joint Fire District. That's just the way it is right now, so it would have to be Lakeside's fire company that makes that decision. I would suggest that you reach out to their president and then try to get a meeting together with a few of you guys and a few of their guys and hash this out. But both Mumbasia and Harriman, I believe, and I might not be, I'm 90% sure Harriman done the same thing that Mumbasia did. We shut that policy down. We all did receive some monies. It wasn't a tremendous amount of money, but it was some monies. All depends on how long you had it in the system, basically. Right. So, I mean, I'm sure it's worthwhile to some guys, and you know.
Hey, John, this can't be rolled into the district's fund? That
I
is
don't
currently
believe
being
legally
administered?
it can, and Brian would probably know a little bit more about that. I believe it's two separate funds, so I don't think you can legally do that.
No, to discontinue this, you're going to have a public referendum. That's required as part of discontinuing this program. There would need to be, it's at least subject to a referendum at the very minimum. So the resolution is likely one that's subject to permissive referendum. I'll confirm that. I don't think it's mandatory, but there would be a 30-day wait period if somebody filed a petition. And then it could be discontinued, set the date. They would have to make calculations on what's owed to the members. That would be paid by the town, and I think there's a issue of fees in the email that need to be paid, and then that would be the discontinued point.
I have something I looked up on the internet. It's regarding LoSAP, section 155.14, notice of amendment or termination. A sponsor is required to notify the state within 30 days of any amendment or termination, including legal verification of compliance with statutory requirements regarding approval of the governing body and voter referendum. So it needs, I think we would also need Lakeside, since they are, and we have to notify the state as well. So I think we really have to get the process rolling.
Let me just read this, because I misread this before earlier today. So the letter is from Gene Heater, who was with the Hometown Firefighter Services out of Bohemia. He's the gentleman we had met with. It says, please be advised of the following. The program has not been active for the past few years and should be discontinued by holding a public referendum, state law. He says, once a date is established for closing down the program, our actuary would need to run a calculation as to how much each member is owed. The town will need to deposit the funds necessary, and the firefighters will be paid a lump sum. We, as a town, have not paid the administration fee for 16, 17, and 18, which was $3,000 per year. However, we have continued to make monthly payments to your firefighters. I also advise that since you did not calculate an annual report over the last year, I would lower our administrative fee to $2,000 per year, so that we would owe them $6,000. In addition, if the plan is closed down, the actuary would need to perform a final calculation at a cost of $1,000. So,
Are those fees paid out of the LoSAP?
these fees?
Yes.
No, they're paid out by us because we're the ones that maintain it. They're essentially our employees.
So just can the town terminate this and have the lump sum payments made out to those that still qualify for it? I guess that's the question.
Yeah, I think that's the point. There's the issue of the voter referendum.
Right.
So it's not the town board. The town board can probably pass a resolution to set that up, but ultimately I believe the voters could reject it.
Right, but I mean those affected members of Lakeside that don't want it paid out in lump sum. I mean, it's really, at the end of the day, it's up to the town board to say, hey, we're going to call a referendum on this and do away with this fund and disperse.
Yes,
correct.
I agree with that.
All right. Well, I guess that's the decision we have to make.
Yeah, going
You
forward.
know, whether it's, not at this meeting immediately, but it's going to have to be in the near future, because we can't keep on paying these fees. And
Right.
listen, I don't want to hit anybody with a tax hit, but our concern is the taxpayers, and laying out, what are we, $9,000 in the hole for the 3 years we haven't paid yet? So-
Six, because we lowered the fee.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we're gonna have to do something with it one way or the other.
Yeah, I'd also like to know why they didn't send us the annual report.
I will tell you this, Mary. They might have sent it.
No, they said they didn't. We did not calculate an annual report over the last few years. That's right in their letter, so
That's
why,
since,
why didn't they send it? That again is with the regulations that they're on or before September 30th of each year, the administrator shall provide to each sponsor, fire company, and fire department a report. So,
you're reading that out of this letter, correct?
no, I'm reading it out of what I got on the internet for LoSAP.
No, I understand that, but
But yeah, they, in their letter said they did not supply
they
the
did not
report,
calculate an annual report over the last few years.
but they're supposed to.
Well, I don't know if calculate means sending or actually doing the calculations.
Well,
I
I think
don't-
if-
I don't know what
yeah,
that
we don't
means,
wanna
and
get
I
into
will tell you-
semantics, right, because we don't know.
Because I don't know. I don't know if the controller has received it, you know.
Well, I would think if they didn't calculate
tell
it,
you
it's like,
I mean, I would
don't
more
have
than
anything to
likely
send.
agree with you, but I'm not gonna make an assumption here.
right. Because maybe then they're a little bit more negotiable on their price.
Okay, that's why they negotiated it, yeah. Okay. All right, so we'll hold this off till next meeting. I'll try to get a hold of Lakeside and get their views on it once again. Any other discussion on it? Bless you. Okay, so, item 6.6, Board of Assessment Review Appointment. We came down to the wire. We reached out to a Board of Ethics member, Paul Phelan, who I think is in, yep, he's in the audience here, yep, who has graciously agreed to join the Board of Assessment Review. So we would need a resolution to approve him for training, and I know that April will rest a little easier. that we
I'll
have
happily make that resolution.
You make
And
that
I will-
motion?
Make that motion.
I will second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Bingham. Any discussion?
Yeah, I think Paul is going to be a great choice. He's well qualified, and he's been on the Board of Ethics, and he understands how to be fair and just. So
Okay.
I think he's great.
My only question to our council is, Paul sent in a letter of resignation from the Board of Ethics. Okay?
Right.
And my thought here was that if he did want to serve on the Board of Ethics again, is it possible we can have him take a leave if he so desires? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, April, the bar runs maybe from now through the end of June, beginning of July?
Actually, May 22nd, they would have one meeting prior to that, maybe to just organize, pick a chairman. They would have to be present on the 22nd, and then you absolutely set up a few meetings. The end of June, you have to have that final roll done.
Okay.
Typically, 4 meetings max.
Okay. Any recommendations?
Yeah, I'd probably recommend against that. I mean, my suggestion would be there's really no provision for a leave under those circumstances, and then technically he'd still be on that board. So, I mean, there's nothing that requires you to immediately fill the vacancy, so you could leave it vacant and then always appoint again if he were to finish his responsibilities and then decide to go back, to the Board of Ethics.
Okay.
He could be appointed back to that vacancy, but I think that would probably be the preferable approach than to say that he's on a leave.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Do we need another motion to accept his resignation from the Board of Ethics?
No, I don't think
No.
so. Accepting it,
No?
just,
I accepted it. I don't know, Council, do we?
Yeah, I would recommend that the board do a motion to accept the resignation from the Board of Ethics.
Okay, so I'll
Okay.
make the motion that we accept.
Well, we
Paul-
gotta,
Oh, we want to.
let's approve this, and then we'll,
It would kind of make sense to have him resign first.
Yeah,
I think we gotta do the resignation motion first.
okay.
All right,
Yeah.
so I'll make the you made the motion
I
already.
wanted
Well,
to
you
make
gotta
the
withdraw your
but
motion.
he's got to.
Okay, all right. This is like Abbott Costello here, who's on first. Okay. I'm gonna withdraw my motion for Mr. Phelan to be named to the Board of Assessment Review.
At this
Okay.
time.
Okay.
Now, I'd like to make a motion to accept Paul Phelan's resignation from the Board of Ethics.
I'll second that. Any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved.
Now,
Now, Mr. McGinn.
Congratulations on your parole there from the Board of Ethics. I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Mr. Phelan to the Board of Assessment Review.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay,
And please sign the oath book ASAP.
yes.
No, we'll have to do this all over
Have to.
again.
Yep.
Val, are you able to take the oath or no? Have him take the oath with you?
I honestly don't know.
All right, so Mary Ellen returns Wednesday?
Patty, I think.
Oh, Patty can, okay. So, Paul, if you could just call the town hall, speak to Patty, she'll give you the oath. You have to do it immediately. Normally you have 30 days, but you gotta get rolling on this in the next couple of days, so. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
There's no turning back now.
All right. All right. Thank you, Paul, thanks for stepping up.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay.
Moving right along.
Moving right along, 6.7, Board of Assessment Review Secretary. And I apologize here, because I don't
We don't have.
I don't have it.
I
We don't have it. It's not in the
anything
packet.
in here, yeah. April was, Alex's, yeah, no, I know that, okay. So Alex has done it in the past. And I know she spoke to April, and I spoke to her briefly about it, so we just need a motion to approve Alex as the Board of a Assessment Review Secretary.
That's Alex Travato.
Alex Travato, at the same rate that she received last year.
Yes, and I have no clue what that is.
Yeah,
I don't have the budget in front of me.
I'll second that.
hold on a second. So it was seconded by Mary. Any discussion other than the stipend?
We can say at last year's level, can't we?
Yeah, that's what I said, but
All right.
I would like.
I don't think there's a
Okay,
dollar.
I'll get the number as we move along, but let's, it's at last year's number, so if we could approve that, that would be great. So I'll call the
Call the
question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved. Thank you. Next item up is an RFP for electrical and plumbing services.
And that would be a question for Mr. Nugent. I had sent you an email, and where do we stand on that?
The answer is in front of you in your hands. Behind that resolution, there is a draft RFP. The only thing we're recommending, which we did not receive, is we need, I think we should have details, if we're going to put this out, as to how many buildings or how many, in other words, we're asking for an electrician to be able to work on panels and things, but we don't really have a quantifiable number, in other words, of buildings or panels or facilities. And I think we should have some list. I know we have the list of water districts, but that's the only thing we don't have. However, you know, for tonight's purposes, the town could accept, you know, the draft RFP in a form, you know, in a final form to be approved by the town supervisor in our office, because there are some blanks to be filled in terms of dates and anyway, and things that have to be done and filled in on the RFP. But otherwise, the board members could review it.
All right, I'm going to have to stop you here. I don't have it in my packet, so.
Did you pass those down?
Yeah.
Did not make it?
Oh, Mike.
It might not have made it.
No, there was 5 of them, but I don't know if it went far.
You got it.
Yeah, it went down.
Which one are we on now?
The RFP for the
But
electrician.
there's a
I have
resolution
it
on the
right here.
front of it for it was the draft resolution. It's irrelevant. Behind that was the RFP for the electric.
Hold on a minute. I just had it.
Yeah, it's like,
Thick.
yeah, it's like 3 pages in.
You didn't
Here,
see
you
it
wanna
either,
send
it?
did you? No.
Here. Is that it?
Okay, this way you have it. I'll get another one.
Okay,
That's it. Just right there.
all right.
Right? Oh, I'm looking.
So if you look at the front page that says request for proposals, the only item we don't have annexed is number 7, description of town water district facilities. So again, the town board can authorize the issuance of this document, subject to a form approved by the town supervisor in our office. And we just need to get some kind of list of the facilities, because it's going to be difficult for an electrician to submit a proposal not knowing if we're talking about 5 panels or 20 panels, or you know, what is the extent of the electrical facilities that they're going to be. Even though their rates are probably going to be hourly, you might get some electrician that's going to say, I can't handle that much work, or I can't be on call for all of that. So we just need to quantify that. But otherwise, that's just a listing of facilities. It's nothing that would hold this up. So again, you can approve it in a form to be approved by the supervisor in our office, and if the town board members have any particular changes, you know, we can put it in final form. But this includes basically the notice, the RFP itself, an information sheet to be submitted by the proposers, certificates of compliance with the Iran Divestment Act, which are required, statement of non-collusion, certificates of insurance. We really don't need that right now. And then that last one is the description of the town water district facilities. So that's the only document that's not in here right now.
And I have a question for John. That would be easy for you to provide as to how many panels
Oh, yeah.
each district has.
Yeah, we'll have that to you tomorrow. Or
Yeah, and I'm just
That's good.
thinking buildings and I guess panels or whatever they might be working on is really what we need. Just to tell them and give them an idea. It doesn't have to be exact science, but if there's 10 buildings that have, you know, electrical panels and things of that nature, and pumps, I guess, that they have to work on,
Right.
just so they have some scope of what they're bidding on.
Yeah, if we listed the pump houses and then all the other town-owned facilities, the town-owned buildings that they would be required to work on, because it would be also for the water districts, but also say for the senior center here.
Well, are we going beyond the water district for this or no?
Well,
I would think that would be a
because
pretty
if I
smart
read this, it
move.
says electrical and plumbing services for water districts as well as other needs that might arise. And, you know, we got the trooper barracks, we got, you know.
Okay,
at
so then-
Syme, we got, you know.
Then I would
mean,
say
if we
let's
might as
make
well
one
get-
list, you know, and then have those rough facilities. Again, it doesn't have to be great detail or square footage, but to basically say, here's the buildings we have, the pump houses we have, and then we'll indicate the other town buildings, such as the senior center, as you mentioned, the state police building. And this way we'll have a list to attach to this for the proposals. But again, that won't hold it up. If you know, everyone's good, we can leave it in the hands of the supervisor in our office to finalize it with the help of the town clerk as far as dates, and then put it out.
All right, works for me.
Okay.
I'm
All
fine
right,
with
you
that.
got that?
We just need a motion to do that. So it'd be a motion to authorize the RFP for electrical services in the town water districts and other town buildings to be issued in a form satisfactory to the town supervisor and town council. And somebody can just adopt that motion if they would like.
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second.
All right.
Any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved. Are we going to prepare one, council, for plumbing as well?
We had that too.
Yeah, we discussed that today. That was the first I heard, but we can do the same thing for plumbing. Is it going to be the same facilities?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so we can draft that. And do you want to author, I mean, it's going to be very similar, just for plumbers, so if you want to authorize that under the same terms, we can authorize it tonight. And this way, when it's drafted, it can go out.
Because it's basically going to be the same format.
Yeah.
Same format.
Yeah.
I'll make a
Water
motion.
instead
we
of
do-
electricity.
Two things that don't mix. I'll make a motion that we ask the town attorney to draft an RFP listing the facilities for plumbing services, listing the facilities that would need to be covered, and authorize the supervisor to sign the RFP to be just published.
All right, I'll second it.
Any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay. So moved. Item 6.9, which is the Town of Monroe Post-Closure Monitoring Program.
For the landfill.
Yeah, for the landfill out on Lakes Road. We basically have to approve each year. It's an ongoing thing since it's been capped. Sterling Environmental Engineering monitors it. There's a fee of $9,875 with an additional fee if there's any seepages of $320 per seepage for testing there. It's something that I guess is mandated by the state
The DEP.
and the DEC, so
And again, that's a town-wide charge.
townwide charge, yep.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Second, any other discussion? This is a yearly contract, we've done this in the past, so.
Yeah.
Call the question?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Again, aye.
Okay. One other item that it'll be real quick, and I gave our attorney a copy of it. It's the Town of Monroe Dial-a-Bus Controlled Substances and Alcohol Testing Policy. It was adopted by our town board initially on March 20th of 2006, and there were adjustments made to it going forward, and I just would like, we were required to get this to the, I think we were required to get it to the state by the end of January. It just came before me 2 weeks ago, and I did not want to hold it up. It was just some, bless you, it was just some, there was just some, the major adjustments in here were regarding opioid testing. So I did sign the contract so that we could get it up there and not be in compliance. So I am asking for the board to, authorize that resolution. Or
I'll make that
acknowledging,
I'll make-
acknowledging the fact that I did sign it and the board is okay with it. Council has it.
So we don't have to make a motion, we don't have to vote on it?
Supervisor, you say contract, or are we talking about the policy?
No,
Policy.
policy.
So then we have
You
to-
say
Policy.
contract.
Yeah, we have
Sorry.
to adopt the policy.
Policy.
I'll make
Mr.
that.
Cruz, is that subject to collective bargaining or no?
No, most of the, first of all, this is already an existing, there are some modifications, but I assume modifications made are because there are, federal and state requirements,
DOT,
so it's
right.
not, it's a matter of statute,
All right.
not negotiation.
Still want a union saying that we're pulling the fast one on or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know, was there any discussion with any of them? Anybody from the union? I don't know if they raised any issue, but.
No, they didn't raise any issues, and I had questions on 2 aspects of it, which were answered, so I didn't, 2 of the changes.
Yeah, it looks like the changes are in conjunction with statute.
Yep. You want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
All right, so Rick said it first. Rick made the motion.
I'll second
You
it.
seconded it.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Again, aye.
Okay, so moved. Public comment.
Jason
Valerie.
Sawinski?
That's where I thought it was in the tax. It's in there, though. It's in there. I remember seeing it.
Bit far of a walk up here. Wish I would have known I was sitting so far back. I would have brought my opera glasses. Can't hear me? All right. How about now?
Good. Just
All
state
right.
your name and
Jason Truwinski, private citizen, Village of Monroe. I'm speaking tonight about some of my concerns I have about the proposed acceleration of Palm Tree. My first concern is about the fund balances and how they will be divvied up. I'd like to know what kind of metrics or formulas are being used because as they are taxpayers, they're entitled to their own rebate. They paid into it, they rightfully deserve it. And this brings me to my next point, which is what is a comfortable amount to keep in the fund balance? You guys are currently considering purchasing its Kaim for a new town hall at about $3 million. The fund currently stands, that would deplete about half of your fund balance. So I'd like to know how the separation of Palm Tree will impact this decision as to whether or not purchase its kind for your new town hall. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Next.
Tracy Shu?
Hi, I just wanted to talk about the agenda item, the landfill closure monitoring program. I wasn't able to get a copy of that report prior to this meeting, but as you know, I've been talking about the concerns with the landfill since 2003 on behalf of a nonprofit called the Preservation Collective, but also for concerned residents in Chester. For those who don't know, the monitoring, you know, the project next door, the Henry Farms project next door that's going to have their wells 200 feet from that landfill, really were the catalyst to get that landfill addressed. But through that process, we had a lot of concerns about the oversimplifications of the conclusions of the tests, and they failed to address the possible reverse flow that can happen from when those wells go online continuously. They have a potential to draw contaminants into the water supply. Of course, I hope that this town prevails in the lawsuit and the project zoning reduces the lot count, because the less water we're drawing out from underneath that landfill, I think, is the better. I'm sure, you probably don't even, if that project does go forward, you don't even want to have part of that water district, but who else could be in charge of that? You may want to talk to your neighbors in Chester who have had to deal with a private ownership of a water district. The one over in King's Track, you may recall that the water plant exploded due to the owner's negligence of keeping up with that district. So, there is a downside to someone else to be maintaining it. But anyway, about the test that you're going to be doing, as I understand it, there's been a long hiatus from when Henry Farms was going to go online to when you had to start doing these water sampling tests. And as I understand it, they have been reduced as far as maybe timing or what you're testing. So I just want to put it out there that if that project does come up, I don't know, in between a year of your reporting or next year, keep in mind that you may want to readdress what you're testing and how often you are testing it, because that is when it's going to be most important, is when it's going to be disturbed. And I do want to note, if I read the report in previous years, there was also a change where the neighbor who is actually downgraded from the landfill, her tests now are only off of her water after it's been filtered. And the problem with that I see is that you're not having historical data if there is actually something coming from the landfill in that direction. So I'm not a hydrogeologist, but I would have hoped that maybe you'll question that, whether it should be before it gets to her filter and after, because otherwise you have no idea what's coming out of the landfill. Of course you want to make sure it's getting filtered properly, but I think there's something there that I hope that you'll take a little closer look at, and again, particularly if the wells 200 feet from that landfill ever go online. I think one of the things that I think this board and the prior board members can all agree on is that protecting our water is one of our most valuable resources. So, while it's like the landfill may be a thorn in your side, but it is important to keep up with protecting that source. Thank you.
Can you just, I know your time's up, but can you be specific with your questions? Because I'm actually texting our engineer right now, or emailing our engineer right now.
Well, my question is more so once, if and when the project next door goes online, is there going to be a change in whether the timing and or what you're testing for? Because like I said, the majority of the concern was, and for the monitoring, was when that project, again, the wells are so close to the landfill, that there could be an impact, particularly a reverse flow. So the water is actually going the other direction. But when that water is going to be continuously pumped, it could draw the contaminants. And those in Chester have an interconnection with that water supply. When they did the test for Henry Farms, several of our neighbors' wells did go down. So there is a connection, and the concern always is when that project goes online and when more water is being drawn from underneath the landfill, since it is unlined, there could be a possible chance to contaminate people that are not even, Monroe residents, they're Chester residents. So that's why I also bring back to wherever this project is going, to just keep that in mind about maintaining that water district, and keeping up with what needs to be done there, and not leaving it to someone else that may not have to do so.
Okay.
But no, I'm just wondering, going forward, the specific question I had was the Nordling residents. And
What?
The resident that lives down gradient from the, Nordling is her name, that resident? Their wells, their water is being tested, and like I said, I haven't seen this current report, but I believe the water is being tested after it's been filtered. So that, my question was, should it also be tested beforehand? Because
Sure.
you don't have any idea what is the true impact if it's already being treated. And I think the whole idea here is that you know whether or not something's happening at that landfill. I think that was the whole point of the monitoring.
Do you know who's testing their water?
Sterling.
Sterling.
It is
Yeah,
Sterling.
we'll have to talk to Sterling and our engineer and have them find out how they're doing that, and we'll look into that.
I think.
Regarding all the other stuff, it's
I
a
know.
matter of litigation,
Right.
and of course
Yeah,
we
we
can't
can't.
discuss it.
Just want to keep that in the back of your
Yep.
mind.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lorraine Loning.
Good evening, Lorraine Loning, Village of Monroe. I want to first thank you for not changing the pricing at the movie theater. That's a welcome news this evening. When you're talking about concessions, because I'm always asking for something, right? If you could make it not so smelly, because I got to sit there and I really don't want the guy next to me with the big sausage and onion hero, kind of.
No nachos? No.
They already sell that too. Anyway, so that's about the movie theater. The next thing I want to just address is the palm tree acceleration. I went to most of the information sessions before we voted on it, and there were a lot of questions that were never really answered, mostly regarding how services would change and how taxing might change. And I'm hoping that if you do decide to accelerate the process, that you'll have more answers instead of just, well, we'll see, because that's when the rubber hits the road. We got to know the answers. And then as an aside, next week we're all supposed to vote on a school district budget that ends June 30th, 2019. How will moving up this palm tree by a year impact that budget that we're going to vote on? And I mean, you probably don't know the answer. I'll ask at a school board meeting. But these are just details, and it's always the devil, it's in them, So I guess that's all I got right now. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John Allegro.
John, I'm not ignoring you. I just want to sign some papers for children so they
Sure,
can leave.
I'll stand by.
No,
Oh, you wanna go?
Yeah, good.
Okay. Thank you very much, John Allegro, Town of Monroe. I wanted to speak tonight about the palm tree acceleration question or issue that's on the agenda. In July of 2017, Mike Egan, who was here, and I were involved in a negotiation which was completed between United Monroe, Preserve Hudson Valley, and the leaders of Curious Joel. And that agreement effectively reduced the amount of acreage that Curious Joel was asking for, first in the 507-acre annexation, and second in the first proposal for separation, which was for 382 acres. And we were able to negotiate that amount down from 382 to the 164 acres plus 56 additional acres. We did our best to get all of the information about this agreement that we made out to the public. In fact, we even sent out a newspaper to just about every home in Monroe outside of Curious Joel, and the public spoke when
Very little.
during Election Day. 83% of the voters townwide and 75% of the voters in Monroe outside of Curious Joel voted yes on going our separate ways. And one of the things that was included in that separation agreement, which settled the lawsuits over the annexation, was that acceleration clause. It was Mike's idea to compel Curious Joel to do whatever they could to accelerate the separation of our towns by 1 year, and they agreed to it. So everybody knew about that as well, and the benefits to that. Two of the big benefits to that. One was we wouldn't be fighting the block vote, and the block vote wouldn't be fighting us this coming November during a special election. And another one was that it would move up by 1 year the time within which the school districts would go their own ways as well. And there wouldn't be a special interest private education voting block in the Monroe-Woodbury School District. And that would take effect in, I think, June of 2019 instead of June of 2020. So this issue, and I understand, I hate to be redundant, the supervisor did say that time is of the essence with this because there's a political calendar. In the beginning of June, if this new town is going to form, candidates for that new town board of Palm Tree would have to begin circulating petitions, just as, people who'd want to, Mr. Scancarello, I'm sure, would want to get elected and circulate his petitions for the special election. So we'd be able to go our separate ways and not entangle each other over this special election. So there's a bill that was introduced that Mr. Cardone mentioned by Assemblyman Skoufis. He is willing to push this through, and the bill is actually written before the home rule requests have been written. So I just wanted to ask the board to consider making a decision on that issue as soon as they possibly could, because if time runs out, then this amicable divorce between Monroe and Curious Joel is going to have to wait 1 more year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
John.
Veronica Connolly.
Just before Mrs. Connolly speaks, the last few speakers have gone over the allotted time, so I think as a board we have to make a decision to grant extra time to other speakers coming up in the,
To be consistent.
issue of fairness,
That's fine. I have
So
no
we'll go with
problem.
5 minutes max.
You want to go 5? We'll go.
All right.
No.
Hey,
Never.
Ronnie.
You don't have to use the 5 minutes. If you can do it in 2 minutes, we'll be happy.
Before you begin, Paul, our attorney can do your oath this evening if you would like, this way you don't have to come into town hall. Yeah. So, okay.
As soon as the public comment, come on up and. Yeah. Anyone
Good
have a Bible?
evening, board members. Veronica Connolly,
Yeah,
Village of
one in there,
Monroe.
right?
I would just like to first thank John and your service to the community, not only as our highway superintendent, but as our chief of the fire department and the men and women that serve that office and do that. My husband was a 15-year volunteer fireman in the Wandsworth Fire District, and I know the service that you guys give, so thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
I'd like to speak about the acceleration of the palm tree. As John had stated previously, 83% of all voters in this town voted for that proposal to go through. I think we should do anything we can to grant that to move forward as fast as it can. People worked at the state level. Assemblyman Skoufis has worked diligently to get forth a motion and a law passed to promote that acceleration. I think we should be supporting that and doing whatever we can to bring this to fruition. Yes, some of the other speakers had some very valid points about the balances and funding, and with the cohesiveness of the board that's working here for us now, I'm sure you guys are working all on that and to make sure that those things are taken care of. Yes, the folks need answers to their questions, and I feel strongly that you guys will present that to you. And ladies, I'm sorry if I'm saying guys, so sorry, Mary, for that. But I truly support this effort, and I hope that we can get it done in this special election. That way we can go our separate ways and start working together on our own efforts as a community, and sometimes separation is good. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And it's under.
Yep.
Mike Goldstein.
Thank you. Mike Goldstein, village and town resident. There are a lot of financial implications we don't know the answers to yet when they do separate. And since we do have people here from United Monroe, I have never seen in the newspaper that the dissidents have ever signed off on that agreement. Can anybody tell me if that has been finalized? Or are we facing the possibility of going back and fighting for a 507 annexation? Thank you.
Ward Brower.
Ward Brower, private citizen. See, the clock's not working, that's good. I'm definitely concerned about accelerating the table on the new town. 80-some% of the people, of the public, voted for this, but few understand to this day half of the ramifications. Probably they don't understand 1% of the ramifications. All they say is we're free, free, free at last. We can vote without the influence of a certain village. Comes a lot of heavy baggage, which I have not heard any public meetings to address. And that worries me greatly. We need to slow this process down a little bit and examine all those ramifications. There were several meetings. There were many people who spoke, asked many questions. There were few answers, and I have never heard any of those answers yet. Next, I want to thank this town board for adding de facto a new position, the report from the county legislature. That's very important. A lot of stuff going on up there. People do not have the time to go on the site. You may think they do, but they don't have enough time to go on the site and look for that report. He comes up here, presents it concisely. If you had any questions, he would answer them. Good point. Just need to add a few more reports back there. With regard to Tracy Shue and their concerns, I echo every one of them. First of all, Henry Farms, that's the project next to that, the other side of that landfill. And that landfill, you guys weren't around. Those meetings were contentious. They went on for months. Citizens who have long since died testified to what went into that landfill. And even though the tests were inconclusive, they never came up with anything harmful, I don't doubt or discredit any of those testimonies that came before this microphone from those citizens who are no longer alive. They put, I'm going to mention Bill Brown Sr., another couple around, who contributed to stuff in that landfill, and by their own admission. But at that time, no one realized it was a problem. But none of those monitor wells or those bore sites ever touched any stuff. But that stuff can go away. So monitoring is very, very crucial. And another little factor which kicked in. Henry Farms was set up for a specific size of number of people in a dwelling. That has changed. Those at Henry Farms now owned by an LLC. Those numbers have doubled. So the amount of water being drawn from that will at least double, maybe triple. So monitoring that is extremely important. Tracy, she mentioned that pumping. The hydrogeologists call it a cone of depression. In other words, when you pump, you create a low spot. Water thanks to gravity, always runs to the low spot. And you're actually backflowing because the water is located on one side with a huge amount of, some of you may recall an attorney, James Sweeney. James Sweeney worked for many developers over the years, and he personally testified that that water is almost inexhaustible. Here's the link. That's on this side. Landfill's here. The use is on this side. You're pumping it this way. So while they test it's on here, but the water's going to go through that landfill. It's called a depression. Tracy raised that question. These are very important questions. And take enough of your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ward.
Thank you.
Mike Egan.
Mike Egan, Town of Monroe. I also want to talk about expediting Palm Tree. I'll try and shorthand because a lot of folks have talked about it already, but I want to put some urgency to it, and I'll explain why that is. But first of all, it's important to remember Palm Tree is going to happen. So those who are unhappy about that, all we're talking about is moving it up by 1 year. It's going to happen under New York State law on January 1st of 2020. The question is, do you want it to happen then, or do you want it to happen earlier? More than a year ago, we wrote into the agreement with KJ that they had a responsibility to try and expedite it, that they would use their long arm to Albany and their substantial resources to try and make that happen. Okay, and we did that because it's an amicable divorce, right? And the sooner each party is separated and can go its own way, the better. That was the way we looked at it. And you see one of the, we've seen several things arise that prove that out, and maybe the most obvious right now is that if KJ remains in Monroe for that extra year, the block vote will vote in November's election, right? They're going to protect their interests, right? Sal may or may not be in their interests, right? So the sooner KJ block vote is out, the better we all are. This is going to happen, so let's make it happen. Let's make it happen sooner rather than later. It's not a new idea, expediting. It's been in the agreement, as I say, since May. It's been in there a year. The public didn't know about it till July when we signed the agreement and made it public. We talked about it with the Monroe Woodbury School District. We talked about it with the Orange County legislators. We talked about it in the movie theater on 2 separate occasions, in the forums. We talked about it a lot. There's nothing new about it, right? It made sense. It made sense then. It makes sense now. There's legislation in the legislature, bipartisan, endorsed by Skoufis, endorsed by Larkin, Republicans, Democrats. But what it needs is it needs you guys to step up. The Village of KJ passed a resolution, a home rule resolution, supporting this bill on April 13th. And the reason they did that is that local support is important to these assemblymen and these senators. And we need Town of Monroe to do the same. According to my understanding and a memo that I think has now been shared with Tony from the law firm, the Albany law firm of Whiteman, Osterman, and Hanna, if this thing isn't passed, that legislation isn't passed by June 5th, or thereabouts, and signed by the governor, it'll be too late because of the election process. The nominating petitions, the signatures begin being acquired on June 5th. And we're going to miss that date. And then they're turned in July, right? And it is likely the Board of Elections will say, if we come along, on July and say, oh, well, the bill is passed, they're going to say, well, great, but it's too late. And so I'm asking the town board to do this tonight, to pass the same sort of resolution that the Village of KJ did that supports the early commencement, the expediting of the town of Palm Tree. And the bill, I can read you the numbers. It's Assembly Bill A099698, and it's Senate Bill S078661A. And I'm asking that you pass a resolution tonight unanimously and show that this town board supports the same darn thing that the school district supported, the Orange County legislature supported, and 83% of the people who went to the polls in town supported. separation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dan Burke.
Hi, Dan Burke, Village of Monroe, Town of Monroe, and still an elder statesman. I've got some more comparables for you for the theater. One of them is the, let's see, over LaRue Road, the new police headquarters in Chester. They're going to do 1.6 million in renovations on 6,000 square feet. The TMAC equivalent at 29,000 square feet would be $8 million. And then the granddaddy, the big one, would be the Orange County Government Center. Now they're paying $74 million, for what they did there. They did 200,500 square feet, and comes out to $369 per square foot. And if our theater was valued that way, our theater would be worth over $11 million. So either the county spent too much, or we're really in the chips. And these numbers that I keep getting also point out that iTime at $3 million at 20,000 square foot with 5 extra acres is a deal, and I'm in favor of it. I'm looking at the movie theater revenues and expenditures. Revenues come from ticket sales by credit card, concession sales by credit cards, and room rentals. So those revenues are budgeted for the year at $571,000, and so far, 3 months so far, 4 months right through April 30th, the theater has taken in $189,438.42, and that's about 33% of the year. However, the big months are May and June and July, and then comes November and December. So the theater is coming in above expectations on its revenue, and maybe thanks to the town board, the expenses are coming in below expectations. For those 4 months, expenses were $184,000. It should have been $236,000, but somehow or other, $52,000 was saved. So for the 4 months this year, the theater is actually $5,000 ahead. You've got a money-making operation right now. Now, the figures are going to have to be looked at more closely by auditors, once you get your annual audit done. But I want you to keep this in mind. We're not looking at a loss of $400,000 or anything astronomical like that. Right now, what I'm looking at is $5,000 profit for 4 months, and more to come. Sometime, like tonight, you vote on a document, the Smith Farm Phase 2 authorization agreement. I think that by the open meetings law, I think that should be, on the website ahead of time so people can see it. And if that's not possible, maybe you could introduce it, hold it off for 2 weeks, put it on the website, give people a chance to comment on it, because I think that's what the law requires. You can discuss it with your attorney, but I'm pretty sure that you really should be doing that. And one other thing, the agreement, Shira, for $15,000. Well, that contract should have been on the website ahead of time, and then time for public comment so everybody could read it. I'm pretty sure that when that was voted on, 2 of the board members, maybe 3, hadn't read it, didn't have the chance to read it, didn't know what was in it, and they were forced to do it in a rapid fashion. It should have been put off for 2 weeks. Let the board members read it, let the public read it, and see what we have to say about it. Anyway, wow. I must have done 3 minutes.
She actually started the clock late.
Oh, okay. All right.
You're
Thank you very
good.
much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else now?
That's it.
That's it. Okay. So we need a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel.
I'll make that motion.
What's that?
Did you want to answer any of the public comments?
Oh, all right. You want to do that now, or anybody any comments?
Mary?
Yeah, I just
Mary?
wanted to say about the landfill, I'm quite aware of that, and we will definitely check with Sterling to find out if the well testing can be done before that one house has its filtration, because you're right. You need to know what's in the water. You don't need to, because if more houses are built or different people buy that same house but use a different filtration system, the results may be different. So it's much better to get it before it's filtrated, so you know exactly what's in the water. So we'll definitely stay on top of that. I understand about reverse flow and the cone of depression, so I'm definitely going to try to stay on top of that as best I can. And that's my comments.
Rick?
Palm tree. We had a meeting, didn't we, on the taxes and how that would affect taxes?
Yes.
And I believe it was something on the order of almost 200 a year, approximate. We didn't get an exact figure, but I believe that was it. And that would also take them completely out of the school budget, correct?
I don't know. I don't know if that's been determined yet.
Not to be determined. All right. And that's it. We'll have to find out more as we go.
Mike?
Just, regarding the acceleration, fund balances, the fund balances as well as our liabilities are yet to be determined. And we've had discussions with the village, but unfortunately the village is not the town yet, so it's a little bit of a catch-22. But those discussions are ongoing, and you know, I can assure you that whatever that split will be amicable and within you know, fair to both parties, liabilities and assets. All right. IMAs, contracts, all these things are also in play. But again, until they're actually formed as a town, we can't formally adopt or have that. So it's right now it's a little bit of a catch-22, but the discussions are ongoing. Just to say that 83% of the town electorate was uninformed, I think does a little bit of disservice to the people of the town. I mean, there were 2 public hearings by the county. We had 2 public information meetings, and while we didn't have answers for everything, I think the biggest question that people had, and Rick alluded to it, is how much it's going to cost us per household. And that number was $160 to $200 per household, depending on whether they were in the village or in the villages or the town. And that's assuming that we did absolutely nothing, that 1.5 million roughly that we'd be losing in taxes from KJ, that we wouldn't be cutting the budget, we wouldn't be bringing any additional revenues, and that's what it would be. Well, we all know that that's not going to happen. There will be additional revenues, and there may be additional taxes, but that's what that number was. So assuming we did nothing, that's what that number was. Again, there was plenty of information out there. I mean, there was no shortage of information, of opinions, scores of speakers. I can't even tell you how many people spoke at all these public information sessions. So again, I think the public was very, very well informed about it. Regarding you know, signing off on the home rule, we just got this tonight, and I think, you know, it's something that requires a look at by us before we would approve such an important decision. And you know, we will do this in a timely manner, and we will get it up there in time for it to be done. But I think it requires a look at by us, just to make sure that it is in fact you know, consistent with what we believe it to be. And that's about it. That's all I have. Oh, and someone said about Alliance signing the contract. I have no idea what that means. So, go ahead.
Lorraine, real quick, there will be no smelly sausage and peppers at the movie theater. I promise you. Real quick, too, Sunday is Mom's Day, Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms. Without a doubt, the hardest job in the world is being a mom. So, bless all you moms. Happy Mother's Day.
Lorraine, what was your question concerning the school district?
The budget that I'm voting for next week goes to June 30th.
Okay, so the way I've been told and what little research I've done, that nothing's going to be adjusted because you're budgeting for the upcoming year. So nothing's going to be adjusted, and that goes to any districts, whether it's a water district, fire district, drainage district, et cetera. That's budgeted, and that's going to that particular district. There's really no refunds. That was it. That's all I had.
Executive session.
Executive session.
I'll make that motion. We go to executive session.
I'll second.
Paul, you want to come up and we'll, Mr. Phelan, come on up and the attorney will swear you in.
We'll hold off.
We'll hold off on the vote.
Hold off on the vote.
Till the swearing in and swearing at.
We have to be in session.
Yeah.
I'm sorry? Oh.
Just swear.
Do you want me to bring this up?
Mike's head.
Then he gets sworn at.
On the podium. That's a Bible. No Bible.
You don't need a Bible. Just raise your right hand.
From a cabinet. Can I look?
Be like Ollie North, just raise your right
It's not
hand.
legally required, but if you would rather have one, we can wait. Mike's got 40 Shades of Grey. if you
He
want.
goes to church, I know, I see him there.
John, I gotta talk to you about something later.
Okay.
All right, folks, could you just give,
Please
folks,
be
give a
quiet.
second, please?
I, Paul Fallon.
I, Paul Fallon,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to uphold the Constitution of the United States
to uphold the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York
and the Constitution of the State of New York
and the Town Code of the Town of Monroe,
and the Town Code of the Town of Monroe,
and I will faithfully discharge my duties
and I will faithfully discharge my duties
as board member
as board member
of the Town of Monroe Board of Assessment Review
of Town of Monroe Board of Assessment
Yes.
Review
according to the best of my abilities.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Okay.
You're in it now.
Call the question for executive session to discuss litigation and personnel issues.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Begin, aye.
Okay, so moved. April, you want to join us?
All right.
Motion to come out of executive session and back into our normal meeting.
I'll make
Second.
that. Second.
Third.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye. Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Begin, aye.
Okay, so moved. Okay, we need a motion to authorize our assessor's office to advertise for a part-time data collector.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
For discussion,
Discussion.
I believe it's at $18.95 an hour.
For 17 and a half hours.
Yes.
17 and a half hours,
Who were the
correct.
motions, please?
Motion was by Rick, seconded by Councilman Cologne,
It was,
Councilman Scancarello.
and Val is for the assessor's department to hire a part-time data collector at $18.95 per hour.
It was basically to authorize the advertising of that.
Yeah,
Just the advertising.
yep,
No, I'm good, thanks.
okay.
Okay, any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Begin, aye.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to hire an assessor's clerk, full-time, at $42,500 a year. And the employee's name is Nancy Elgueta. And her employment would begin on or after June 1st, 2018.
I'll second that motion.
Any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Oh, sorry. Begin, aye.
Okay. We need a motion to authorize the dog shelter to spend $473 and change on repairs for a truck so that it is able to pass inspection.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Bingham. Any other discussion? Rick did.
Rick.
Any other discussion? All those in, call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved. We also need approval of that contract for the, which I forgot to discuss before. Contract for the
Remediation.
Food Truck Festival.
Food truck.
Food Truck Festival, which is in your packet. I believe, Mr. Nugent, you have reviewed that?
Yes, I have. We had worked with Anne Marie Morris and made some changes and should be in good shape.
Okay, so I'll make the motion to approve the Food Truck Festival contract.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay. Now I'll leave the final one up to our council with regard to the tank remediation.
That would just be a resolution to authorize the town supervisor to work with legal counsel and the highway superintendent to review the proposals concerning the highway site remediation.
Okay, I will make that motion.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay. Any other business? Okay.
Yeah, we have, I'll make a motion that we accept the professional cleaning services contract from DOC Professional Cleaning Services in the amount of $71,640 per year, and also to cover the areas specified in the contract, and also for the steam cleaning of the TMAC theater seats and carpeting annually would be at a price of $2,400 per year.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Just for discussion, it would be effective May 31st?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
If that would be included in
So it
the-
was said end of May.
Unless there's a
contractual issue
with the present contract, which has expired. So, any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved. Any other business?
Do we have to water district date? Authorize
We have to authorize,
highway?
well, Highway's going to look into it, but we were waiting for council to review the previous authorization
Okay.
before we did that, so we can.
So we have to wait on
We
that.
have to wait till
2
next
weeks.
meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. If there's no other business, I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Cologne. All those in favor, call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved.
That's it for